If you haven't been paying attention, Illuvium on average has released one update every single week for the past 3 to 4 months. Now, this is a very small part of the puzzle that might just make it one of the top AAA Web3 crypto games in 2025. Illuvium has obviously had quite a rocky road up until this point, and I've seen many of their successes and even more of their failures. But lately, their priorities have been incredibly on point, and I think they have a great chance to leverage all of their hard work in Q1 of 2025 to make Illuvium great again. Illuvium is in a delicate place right now, with the low player numbers make the game hard to play for anyone coming in new to the ecosystem, but this is not as important as what they need to do in April of 2025, okay? As we have a look at the news cycle for Teamfight Tactics, we can see that they had a major balance update on the 23rd of January, right here somewhere. There you go, Lunar Festival Cosmetics, Teamfight Patch 13.4. If we click show more down at the bottom, they had one on the 8th of January. I marked all these off before, so scrolling's just not going to help us that much. But they had one on 8th of January, or it looks like the 11th of December. Sorry, there's one on 8th of January as well up here. You get the point. There are a lot of updates. They also had one on the 11th December and the 20th of November. But what does this mean? They also have had a new set and season start around every 4 months or so. There was Cyber City in March 26, 2025, Into the Arcane in November 20, 2024, and Neon Lights launched on July 24, 2024. All the updates, all the balance changes, new sets, new rotations, new rules, all of this goes in to make goes to make TFT exciting and fresh for its players over and over again. And that is desperately what Illuvium needs. I'm going to lay out exactly how they can achieve that, what they need to do with all their upcoming balance changes and things like that, what to look forward to for Illuvium, and much, much more. But before we get into this, why this matters for Illuvium, I need to show you this upcoming Battle Royale using some really epic IP. Open is a multi-mode Battle Royale game coming to PC and current generation consoles in partnership with the author of Ready Player One. It will feature IPs like the DeLorean and Reebok, with many more to come and heaps of awesome items to collect. What excites me the most is they seem to be shaking up the entire genre. You may need to complete unique objectives or even drive and beat others on a racetrack to win this unique battle royale. Follow their X profile and watch them like a hawk. I assure you, you won't regret it. Now, the benefit to updating the game over and over again, especially on a monthly and a larger 3-monthly basis, is it brings back players who had originally gotten bored with a set over time. And we can really see this, and I'll show you some stats in just a moment. Historically, Illuvium had been absolutely awful with this, okay? They just weren't great, but that was because the part of the development cycle they're in. It wasn't a fully released game that was out, so understandable, but they were terrible at this. Ascendant, at least it really felt like it got no love, and it died from bugs and infrequent patches. Now, obviously the retention wasn't as high as it is with Gauntlet right now, but I really do think that if they put some effort, if they really tried to keep it fresh and exciting more often, I don't think it would have gone that way. They lost the 10,000 plus players that they had at the time that Ascendant was in its heyday, okay? But now Illuvium is finally doing frequent patches, which keeps the game fun. Okay, it's the industry standard to make meaningful updates every 2 weeks at a minimum. League of Legends does this. I believe Fortnite does this. Pretty much any live service game that is really popular, they have some sort of update every 2 weeks, and they usually have some sort of really major refresh or update on a seasonal basis. Everyone decides it differently. I think a lot of companies like to go for the quarterly season sort of thing, but you'll see some go for like a yearly season as well. Now, here is what Kieran has to say about the upcoming updates that are coming to the Illuvium Gauntlet.
Since we've launched Gauntlet, I've come back to it over and over and over again. And we're talking about in the next 3 to 4 months, introducing really exciting things like region-based augments. We're talking about carousels, spectator modes, tournaments. Like, it's all going to come in a very, very short period of time. And if that's the thing that brings the 50, 60,000 players that we've had come into Arena over the last 12 to 18 months, that's a very good position to be in. When you couple.
Now, do I think all of these updates, as amazing as they sound and look in the dev blog, are going to bring back 50 to 60,000 players? Absolutely not. However, what comes with it is your entire marketing arm, which definitely could bring in a lot of players. 50,000 is definitely not out of the question, because as long as the game is good, you can bring in 50,000 players to pretty much any game with enough money you throw at it, enough reward systems and incentives, right? Getting them to stay is the hard part. And if the game is good enough, I definitely think you will have at least 10 to 20,000 players that stay with Illuvium and the Illuvium Arena for the long term. But the one thing that they have to do to make that work, to keep that retention high, is to keep this consistent, keep the updates coming, keep working on balance, adding new features, and the game needs to feel fresh. Now, it also needs to see major game updates every 3 to 4 months. This is really hard. The dev blog covered all the features they want in by, let's say, the end of Q1, but more or less like April, May sort of region, right? They laid out all these features. There isn't really many more features you necessarily can just add, because they'll be working on the MMO Lite at this time. They'll take not every dev, but they'll have most of the devs focusing on building out the MMO Lite as the arena is finished, or at least it's feature complete. And it will definitely still have some people on it. Aaron will definitely be sorting out new features and things like that, and they'll just need the devs to execute on it. But any player base that grows the way I expect the arena to grow needs to be respected. And let me show you some proof. I said I was going to show you some stats. Here's the Teamfight Tactics Twitch stats. Now, I know a lot of people tell me, oh, Twitch isn't the game's player base, but it is. Now, these peaks are all around 50,000 views, okay, on Twitch on a daily basis or whatever, right? That doesn't mean the game has 50,000 players. It's probably significantly higher, but it's a really good, it's a really good indicator of the trends of the player base, okay? It's not going to show you exactly how many players there are, but it is going to show you that players came, if they want to watch someone play Teamfight Tactics, they're probably playing it themselves as well, but it's a renewed interest in the game as a whole. So it's showing you that in January of 2022, players returned to the game. In July of 2022, they did the exact same thing. January of 2023, they returned to the game as well. July 2023, January 2024, and so on. And I did check that these last few peaks are all the new giant sets that I mentioned earlier in the video. It was Cyber City, Into the Arcane, and Neon Lights were the 3 big peaks in player bases returning. And now you normally see that even though there are peaks that is still really trending down, TFT is really consistent over the course of what is this 5 years, 6 years. That's really good for any live service video game. Obviously it has the League of Legends and the right IP, so that really, really helps. But at the same time, it's very, very good. And so there's renewed interest in the genre and the game, but they fall off really fast until you get that new huge update to come in. And this is the one thing Illuvium needs to make sure it considers before it starts bringing in players, before it starts going for those retention metrics, increasing player base, rewards, all the rest of it. It needs to make sure it has a game plan for this. This is what is most important. If you disagree with me, please let me know below. But this is what most important, okay? Now, after the game improves in Q1, Illuvium will have the chance to bring over 100,000 players into the game. Not necessarily all staying for the long term, but it will be able to have 100,000 players try Illuvium, some returning, some for the first time, and even millions when the mobile version of the game launches. But they need to frequently update it. New sets of Illuvials will go a long way. That will help, but we don't know how long they will take to produce. But maybe major changes to augments or a massive update to drone augments every single season could be really great. Personally, I like to see things like drone augments and region augments get completely overhauled every 3 months. If people find a feature that they really like, overhaul it, add it in, but also enhance it in some way. Maybe the way the carousel works can change every 3 months. I don't necessarily need to see a brand new feature set every 3 months, okay? TFT does a pretty good job of this stuff, but I don't need to see a brand new feature set. What I need to see is the existing features have to be reimagined. Not all of them, but there definitely the game has to feel fresh, exciting, and new. And your strategy, the way you play the game, has to completely change as often as the team can manage to keep players coming back for more and coming back every season. Battle passes and things obviously will help as well. Okay, now I hope you learned something today. Without this, the game could die and really never be able to truly recover after you've gone to all the trouble of bringing those players back for one last try. Subscribe if you want all the latest news on Illuvium, even before the updates come into the game. And don't forget to use my referral code on the Illuvidex if you want to learn how to play Gauntlet for the very first time. Check out this beginner's guide.